Welcome to the Homeschool Together podcast. Where one working mom and a stay-at-home dad help you navigate the nuts and bolts of the growing and dynamic world of homeschooling.
With a focus on early learners, like me.
All the ins and outs of building and maintaining your homeschool life.
Homeschool.
Find out tips and tricks to make things like this easier.
I'm reading.
And ultimately, enjoy educating your kids. And what's that last thing?
Have fun together. Did I do good, Daddy?
Yeah, you did, sweetie. Good job. Hello and welcome back to Homeschool Together. Thanks so much for joining us. If you have a chance, head down into the show notes and click on that review button that we have down there, the link to leave us a review. Still, people coming from Apple Podcasts is probably the best way most people find us, and they love to see those reviews and the numbers be very high. So if you haven't had a chance, head over there and leave us a nice little review. We always read them. We enjoy seeing the positive feedback and that people enjoy it. So if you could head over there and leave us a review, that would be wonderful. I think we are up to number 62. And who is that lovely 62 person?
It could be you.
It could be you. You could be that person.
And we also want to give a special shout out and a thank you to Susan for supporting the podcast. We have a new link on our Gumroad store, which is just to donate a few bucks to help keep this going for us. You know, for Matthew and I, this is a passion project that we feel very strongly about, helping homeschool families and connecting with you all. So we really appreciate support from people like Susan to help us keep going.
So Susan's a wonderful mom. Some would say the best mom.
The best mom. The best. Thank you, Susan.
And she knows how to keep her kids educated. She's an expert homeschooler, but sometimes we fall off the wagon. Sometimes we get out of the groove, off the main rails. Whether it's through the holidays or through, an illness in the family or some issue. Susan doesn't have to worry about that, but some of us out here do, like us, who get out of the
What
groove.
a transition.
I don't get paid nothing to have these wonderful transitions. That's why I'm around here.
So today we're talking about getting back into the groove.
Yeah, that's right.
We are feeling this one very acutely.
Yep.
We have had a heck of a time. We
holidays.
We had the holidays, which was overwhelming. We do like a 3 Christmas thing with Christmas with my parents a week before Christmas. Then we have our own Christmas. Then we go to your parents for Christmas.
Yes.
Then there's New Year's. And then the week after New Year's, we were just starting to kind of get back into things. And my parents came to visit for 5 days or 4 days because my father's Crohn's disease. And so he needs to get a special infusion every 6 weeks. And he can't get it at his home with his home healthcare worker. So he comes here. So they drive a couple of hours to come to our house and get his infusion.
It's like Christmas number 5 with
so
no presents.
Yeah. So they came and then they left. And a couple of days later, my grandmother passed. And that was a very traumatic, of a very, very small family. And so we were all really, really close. So that was kind of traumatic. And so we had to deal with that for a few days. And then I traveled to my parents so we could be together and came back. And we all got sick. We're just trying to get over it now. And then I'm going to be leaving again in a few days to go down and deal with all of my Grammy's effects and things like that.
We've had a lot of disruptions,
so many disruptions.
Yes. And it's been difficult. And we've noticed this as well with the kids.
Right.
Just having a little bit more, like our youngest will be a little bit more on edge. She's like not able to focus as much right now. And then our oldest is struggling to, get through homeschooling stuff that she would normally get through pretty easily. And, we're having a lot more days where we're tripping up and we're having to, just pause the schooling for the day and try something else and try something a little bit more fun.
Their behavior has definitely been affected. We've seen a lot more fighting between the girls than they used to do. There a big decrease in energy too from both of the kids. Kids really, I'm not going to say all kids, but most kids, a lot of kids really thrive on routine. We as a family, and your family, some families are really great just being kind of loose and open with their day. For our family, we really need routine. It's kind of where our kids do best. So all of these disruptions has really had us going like, man, we need to get back in the groove. And so we thought this would be a good time as we're, coming off the holidays and things. And I know a lot of folks struggle to, get back to their old routine with their kids.
And if you follow the school year, this is the meat of the year right here. this is the 5 months straight
Right.
from the end of the holidays all the way to the end of the school year. I mean, if you do wrap your school year, and with us,
there's not a lot of big holidays. I mean, you got spring break is the one big one right in the middle. But otherwise,
it's basically 5-6 months of just straight schooling, no big holidays, and then the summer, right? The summer begins. And with us being at the parent partnership, we see this as well, because the first few months are just getting into the groove. Then you have the big holiday season, and now we're into this kind of like long stretch, and it's tough to start that long stretch tripping right out of the gates,
Right. Yeah. We didn't really expect for all these things to come and happen. So it has been a challenge. And so we wanted today to give you our thoughts about how to get back in the groove and what we're doing for our family. This is something that we encounter every time. Obviously this has been not a good disruption, some of the things that have happened, but we experience this every time we go on vacation. Yeah. Every time our kids go to grandma's house for a week and they stay during the summer and they come home.
Yeah, we've talked about this with some other homeschooling parents as well. I've just, in the last few weeks, they said, oh, the holidays, I saw a lot of regressions. I'm just beginning to teach my child how to read, or we made some advancements in math and now we come back and they don't even know what letter that is.
Right. We just had our daughter take a test last week about telling time, and she did abysmally on it. Yeah. And she knows telling time pretty well. Yeah. And so it was funny. You were saying, man, what did I do wrong? And I was saying, gosh, I'm so thankful for homeschool because with all the disruptions that we've had and the time off at the holiday, if she had done this in school, she started her test and it wasn't going well, and you stopped and made sure she was okay. She was okay. There wasn't anything else wrong. She was just really struggling with the material. And you just said, you know what, we're going to put this away for today and we'll come back to another time, and gave her a very gentle time with that. And I was like, man, I'm so thankful that we're homeschool, because if we didn't, she'd have been in a classroom. Yep. She would have failed that test and felt terribly about herself. Yeah. When really there's a lot else that's competing on her mind. And she's getting into this age too, where there's lots of worry. She's internalizing and worrying about a lot of things. And so she's never encountered the death of a family member before. Yep. And though she handled that situation pretty well, I can still see it. We had our youngest was sick a week and a half ago, and all of a sudden our older daughter just totally broke down. Yeah. And she was inconsolable, and I had no idea what was going on. And she was like, is sister going to die? Because Grammy was sick and Grammy died. Yeah. Is sister going to, and she was terrified, right? It was like, oh my gosh, it didn't even occur to me. No, sister just has a little food poisoning. She's fine. She's going to be okay. But I didn't realize how much our kids are thinking about things. And so I'm thinking about, man, it's all weighing on her mind, everything that's going on and all the disruptions. And if she had been in school, she would have just struggled, and the teacher would not have had a good understanding of why, and she wouldn't have felt good about herself with the school.
And that goes to the benefit of homeschooling, knowing that we have that connection, whether it's, the social emotional stuff that you just talked about, or if the education is just not going well today, with the math example that you brought up, we have the ability to pivot and move to the side a little bit and say, hey, let's do something else, like we're doing with the dinosaurs. That's always a fun thing to do. We can always pivot in the dinosaurs. Right.
Let's do some painting. Let's do a craft.
Let's do some art or something. And that's, I think, the beauty of being able to homeschool, and to know that, from my standpoint as the educator, hey, listen, if I lose a day or two, she's already, a year ahead.
And we're fine. We homeschool year round, and so,
we're fine.
And I think this goes to the first point that we want to say on this episode, which is you may have to just let it go.
Yep.
Right. The whatever the disruption was, whether it was a good disruption, like a nice fun vacation, or something else, moving, or, an illness or death in the family, or whatever it was, you may have missed the mark on the plans that you had, and it's okay. Mm-hmm. Unless you have somebody you have to answer to in your state or whatever, it's all right. You can catch up, or you can make a new plan. And don't be afraid to make a new plan. For us, we said, hey, gosh, we were going to finish prehistory on this day, and then we were going to start our next thing. And now it's like, we're going to finish prehistory 2 weeks later than that. And that's going to be okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're going to be all right with that. And I think we just have to give ourselves a lot of grace and not add that stress to our plate that, oh gosh, not only do I have to get my kids back on and myself back on track, but I also have to catch up from the stuff I missed. That's just like a bridge too far. So don't do that to yourself.
Yeah, it's that it's adding work to yourself and pushing you further down, knowing that you feel like you're digging a hole, but you're not really digging a hole. You're just pausing. Right. And you're like, okay, I'll pick it up again.
Right. And if obviously you want to keep those essential core skills like reading and math going, but if you lost out on something else, you can recover it on a weekend, or just say, oh, we missed that little bit of science we were going to do. And, we'll just keep going.
Yeah.
I mean, do what's comfortable for you depending on your situation. But I just want to say up front, you got to give yourself like a bit of grace and let yourself go.
Yeah.
Let the guilt and the stress go about what you didn't cover as well as you'd hoped to during this disruption, or what you totally missed.
Yeah. So imagine a parent out there, they said, okay, I'm going to let this go. I'm going to give a couple days off. Oh, we stopped early on Thursday. Let's have a fun day on Friday where we go to the park, scoot around, take a nice walk, maybe go to the jumpy house or something of that nature.
Yeah.
And then we'll have a fun weekend, watch some movies and stuff. During that time, they're going to have to reassess what they missed or stop.
Right.
So how would they go ahead and do that?
Yeah, I think that's the first step. You really need to assess. You take a step back, you take a look at where you're at and where it's really important for you to be. So like we said, we're going to finish prehistory a couple weeks later than we planned. Okay. But maybe on math and reading, we have some goals that we really need to make. Maybe we're going to plan some extra lessons or some extra time on the weekends to make that up. Really assess where you're at and what goals are most important to you.
And that's something I just recently did as well. During this time period where we're trying to reassess, we were out shopping. I think I was at Goodwill, actually. I was looking through some of the books and I found a math book that I was like, wow, this is going to really help me with some, practice on the addition and subtraction.
Yeah, it was a nice Kumon book.
It was a nice Kumon book, and so I brought that right in. And I also found a handwriting book as well. So I said, okay, if I'm getting, if she's having some issues or whatnot, I can double back on my review work.
Right.
So and maybe I'm not hitting new topics because I know we're ahead. So I'm not really worried about that. Maybe I could spend that time, reinforcing what she already knows. Right. So taking that moment of saying, okay, can I build in something? How can I handle this? How can I pivot? How can I reassess what I've been doing?
Give her a chance to experience that mastery. I think that's a really good confidence builder.
Yep.
So you've assessed, and I think that the next big thing is, so you know where you're at, you know where you want to be or need to be. And then the most important thing is to start with yourself.
Yep. Because
you as an educator, if you're not ready, then the rest of it's all gone.
They do really key in on your, the older they get, they can see your emotions. They can see you're not into it. They kind of feed on that. And I've had to really be careful about that because
they are so observant. It's
been very, I've had long days, with the sick kid and, you're not sleeping great and you wake up and you're just not feeling it. In some respects, like, sending my kid off to school, that's somebody else's problem to take care of. I'm not feeling great, but I can go into work and do my work. Right. But my work is, showing up and being exciting and telling jokes and, making math and reading fun. And if you're not feeling it, you're the guide. If the guide isn't feeling it, it's tough. It can be a tough day.
It can be really tough. I think you have to start with the right headspace. For us, we knew that, these were some difficult situations we were going through. Yep. I wasn't in the right headspace to do the normal planning that I usually do. And so we did some pivoting and we did some things like workbooks and stuff. And we took some time off. We did some more videos.
But it does feed to the fact that you tend to plan ahead a little bit. So it gave us a little bit of buffer. We ate into our buffer a little bit.
We had a little bit of buffer, but
Speaking of which, I'm out of, I need you to plan.
I actually did it yesterday.
You did? Okay.
Yes, I did. But yes, we did eat our seed corn.
We ate our seed corn.
So yeah, I think you start with yourself and make sure you're in the right headspace and make sure that you're taking care of yourself, your diet, your exercise, your sleep. When we get back from vacation, there's just so much we have to do. In this case, with a death in the family, there's a lot that I have to do and I have to help with. I'm helping with executing the estate. Executing? Is that the right? I don't know. Yeah. My mother is executor of the estate and she's having a lot of challenges that she needs a lot of help with. And so I'm helping with a lot of it. And so I'm, the first thing that we do is we neglect ourselves. We neglect our own diet. We neglect our sleep. Make
Especially
sure that you're charged up.
In that acute period where it is difficult or, we're talking obviously an extreme situation, but this can be felt at any other type of level. Like,
this could be
the car broke down and we're down to one car, or your spouse has to go on a travel for the next 2 weeks and you're alone with the kids, right?
Right. Or you've just moved. Moving is a huge thing. And the first thing that we try to do, we always prioritize our kids because they're our number one and we neglect ourselves. Yeah. So make sure that you're eating well, you're getting the exercise that you need, getting the fresh air that you need, and the sleep that you need before you try to figure our things out and get your whole family back on a routine. Because
getting caught up on sleep, I think,
It's huge.
Could be that change that could reinvigorate you for a couple more days. Yeah. So they've reassessed. They said, okay, I'm going to take the weekend. Mommy, daddy is going to take a nice nap this afternoon. Going to feel really good and recharged. How can they go into it? How can they, ease back into this world?
So I thought about this for quite a while, and I thought there's really two approaches as I see it. You can ease back in, or you can kickstart. Now, most places will tell you, as I've done a lot of research, that you should just ease back in. Yeah. And I think that that's mostly true. But there could be times when giving a kickstart is actually the better option for your family. So I'll go into it a little bit. So the idea of easing back in, this is great after like a long holiday break where everybody's been doing whatever they want. Start adding in like
a new normal has set in.
Right, a new normal. So you're just going to slowly, gently get everybody kind of back into our routine. We're going to start maybe adding one subject back a day, start adding in, start maybe first thing is you're kind of instituting getting up on time, right? Everyone has a kind of a routine of when the kids wake up and the things they do in the morning, their morning chores. Start slowly establishing the pieces of your routine back one at a time.
Or if you're in a co-op or a parent partnership, maybe you just start with the classes that you're going to and then maybe layer in your homeschooling the week after.
Right. And start with those gentle subjects. Don't start with, if you're, our kids' challenging subject is reading. That's not the very first subject I'm going to put back in after we've been off.
I actually think I pruned that for those couple of weeks. We just did readers and we did early stuff and we just did review stuff.
Right. You wanted we're gently getting everybody back into the fold, right?
Yeah.
So, you add another element back into your day. And then if you want to kind of focus on the most important things, right? But don't start with something that's too, for us, we could start back in with math, even as a gentle introduction, because our daughter feels very comfortable in math.
She is.
And what you can do, focusing on your core subjects, but not adding in something difficult, you could do just what you've got with those workbooks. So it's like, okay, I'm going to add in some math, or I'm going to add in some
handwriting.
You're doing readers too. Okay,
readers.
I'm gonna focus on the core subjects, but I'm going to focus on a gentle introduction to those core subjects before I put something challenging in front of them. So I think that's a really good way. We're just talking about gently easing everybody back into the flow, and then try to add in plenty of fun elements. We're not on holiday anymore, but we can still do art. We can still play a game.
Maybe YouTube videos or something.
Yeah,
fun.
And maybe you're thoughtfully choosing what those things are so that they're educational. But you're taking the time, and this could take a little bit of time to get everybody back in the flow.
Especially over the holidays when you may have a lot of TV time, right? You're watching, holiday movies.
So much TV time during the holidays.
Fun things like that, and maybe you've got to dial that back down. And because I know for our kids, the expectation was to wake up in the morning, go down, maybe watch a few cartoons and stuff. Well, we can't do that anymore. And so you got to figure out a way to kind of gear it down, but maybe replace it with something else that's a little bit more fun, a little bit more educational, and then slowly wean that off.
And maybe you don't cut them off cold turkey.
Yeah.
We didn't with our kids.
No.
We started out with like, okay, you can still wake up in the morning and watch something, but just one episode on PBS Kids.
Yeah, right.
And then we want you to play for a bit or whatever. So, you know your kids best, your routine and the really important elements to it.
Yeah.
Some elements for our kids are more important than others. The routines of when they wake and when they eat and when they nap, those were critical to us. Mm-hmm. Those were the core components to our routine. The schoolwork that we did or didn't do within those times, or classes we went to and didn't go to, didn't affect their behavior and mood nearly as much as when they ate, when they slept, and the amount of screen time they had. Those were kind of the big things for us.
For our kids, we noticed the screen time problem, whether it's big screen or little screen. The screen times can be a problem. We do see those issues. So we do have to meter that out. And over the holidays, it was a little bit more excessive than normal, than we normally like. So we did see some issues from that. Now, imagine a family has eased in for the first week. They're working on their easing in of the second week, and it's still not going great. The kids are still fighting. What is a way that they can, not ease into it? Now they can jumpstart into it.
Yeah. And this is where I think a kickstart's great. If you've just been spinning, you're trying to ease everybody into it. You've been kind of light, kind of fun,
Good cop.
Very good cop, right?
Bad cop.
No. I think that, sometimes our kids can keep spinning and you never quite get back to everything you were trying to do.
Yeah.
This is also the case. Like for us, we had repeated disruptions where we thought we were easing for a couple of days and then boom, we got hit with sick kids. Easing for a couple of days, boom, got hit with a visit from family. We just kept getting pulled back. In that case, I think that if you continue this easing approach, you might just be doing it for a really long time or never quite get fully back into. And that's when I think you just give it a kickstart. So what I'd recommend is start fresh on a Monday. Have your time to prepare, and inject a lot of fresh energy as an educator. You're going to have to be very peppy, very excited about what we're doing, and pick something that your kids are going to be excited about doing. Add in some sort of a fun kickstart activity. Like maybe we're going to do homeschooling as a picnic today, or maybe we're going to, I have all these great things planned this morning. We're going to do these. And then this afternoon, we're going to go get ice cream or, whatever. Like maybe you want to start with some high energy things. Maybe you guys all go out and get on a walk first thing, or you do some cosmic yoga or whatever it is. You get everybody. This is about infusing energy into your homeschool, because if you're doing this easing thing and you're spinning, you maybe you're still keeping it kind of low energy because you want to be low pressure, which I totally get. But for us, every 4 days, something new has come up that's just kicking us down.
Yeah, I feel like we're every time we just feel like we're getting back into the routine, it just knocks it right back to reset.
Right. Yeah.
And it feels like a full reset every time.
We're on our second illness in a month, less than a month, for the family.
Yeah.
So yay, food poisoning and then a cold. And we've got all this travel going on and this death in the family and family visiting, and it's just too much. So the easing approach isn't working for us. It usually always works. We don't have a problem with that, but now we need a kickstart.
Yep.
And so that's what we did this week. We just said, okay, we're going to jumpstart this. Well, before we got sick. So we'll have to do another jumpstart, and that's okay. I think that's a tip to take too. Sometimes you might use these approaches and you'll have to do them again.
And I did a really nice kickstart at the beginning of this week. I really spent a lot of time
between illnesses.
Yeah, between illnesses. I had the little one who was sick, but for her, there's not as many things I'm doing. But for the bigger one, I was able to kind of kickstart, and we did get a lot of stuff done at the beginning of the week.
That's right.
And then Daddy got a little sick, and it kind of ground down a little bit.
Right. But we did. You had a great start to the week.
I did.
And your big fun kickstart activity was we had a play date planned with a friend on Monday. So, you got up in the morning, everybody was infused, everyone had a really good breakfast. I think that's a key too. Everyone was fueled up.
We finished our homeschooling early. We got out. We went to a park. We went scooting and at the skate park, which is really nice because middle of the day, there's no kids there.
Right.
And it's awesome.
Yeah, there's no older kids running into your little kids on scooters.
Exactly. And then we went on, we went and played at McDonald's play area, but man, they love that place.
The kids were so played out. And then in the afternoon, our daughter was really calm. She was able to do her routine of her Lego and her audiobook. We were able to read with her. We did some art together.
It was fantastic.
And the kids had great behavior that day. They had lots of activity. And I think that's a big thing too. When we're easing, sometimes we're not getting enough activity. Yeah. And so I think that kickstart can be really nice in that way. Get those kids tired out.
Yep.
And I think they've had much better behavior this week, before we all got sick again than they had in the last week.
Another good example too is this week right here, my mom came and took the little one for the weekend,
right.
At the end of the weekend here and into the beginning of the week, which is going to give me a ton of time, with my older child on Monday, and then a fun day on Tuesday because Grandma's coming back to bring her sister, but also going to attend some of her classes at Parent Partnership. So, you may even need to call an assist from a family member.
Absolutely.
Hey, can you watch the little one this week? I need to really focus on homeschool with my older child.
And give that attention.
Those are other ways you can kind of jumpstart something really fun and exciting, and then have that jumpstart culminate in hey, Grandma's going to be here coming to your class this week to see you do something. And I'm so excited and so much fun. So kind of building up the excitement, and also having other family members supporting you in the homeschooling, also indicates to the younger one that everybody is supporting you in your education.
Right.
So my daughter knows that, Grandma's coming to support me here, and Mommy's excited over here, and Daddy's excited over here. It gets me excited as well. And you can kind of see that activity and the excitement within the child kind of blossom.
Right. I think that one of the things to remember about however you decide to get back in your groove, whether you ease back in or whether you infuse it with some energy and something fun to get it kickstarted, is to know that your kids are going through a change here, right? They've settled into kind of a new quasi-normal or whatever's been going on the last few days. Maybe it's been chaos, whatever it is. You're moving, so there's no normal. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's a big change for your kids to get back into routine. So we try not to spring it on them, right? We don't wake up in the morning and go, hey, surprise, we're doing all this stuff. It's like we're preparing them, on Saturday, hey, on Monday, we've got a big homeschool day coming up, and we have a big fun play date with our friend. This is all the stuff we're going to do. And I just want to let you know that this is what's coming, because then we have time for them to process that and prepare for it. I think it's important to you talking about your mom coming and taking the little one. Time, one-on-one time with your children, however you can carve it out, whether you have a family member that can help out or
a spouse that takes the younger one away.
Right. There's been plenty of times in the last few weeks where I've needed one-on-one time with each of the kids because I'm away at work and both of the girls are trying to process some of this stuff that's happened. And they need to talk about it. And so I think we have to be really sensitive to our kids' mental health too, and saying like, yeah, we need to get back to school and stuff, but we homeschool. And one of the reasons is so that we can care for the whole person as well. So I've had a lot of talks with our daughter in the last few weeks to make sure that she feels comfortable and she feels supported and she understands what's going on. Yeah. That's been a big piece.
A lot of times we get into our routines and we just don't have enough time to slow down and stop. And it's nice.
We have to slow down, take that connection time.
And sometimes we do need to take those pauses and do the things that you've been doing, the one-on-one stuff that you've been talking with the older one.
Even with the little one, we've had some one-on-one time. Because we were sick yesterday. You took our older to basketball and I stayed home with the little one.
Crushing victory.
And we, we talked all about different stuff and we played together, and that was just really good. So if you can too, as you're trying to get back into things, try to get some one-on-one time with each of your kids and make sure that they're ready to get back to it and that there's nothing lingering that's going to, prevent you all from, getting back to your normal life.
So do we have any like little tips, tricks, maybe as people are kind of embarking into kind of a reset or maybe even just a pivot, maybe they're starting a whole new curriculum, something of that nature that they need to, think about how to get back into track and onto their routine. Do we have any little tips? Yeah,
I think that if you're getting into a new curriculum, it's great to get the kids excited about that and, hey, we got this new thing and this is what we're going to do. And before you start,
include them in the process,
include them.
Making the binders and getting the books and organizing things and
stuff
like that.
Getting
some ownership of their education.
Yeah. Whenever we got books, it was fun. It's funny. There's kind of multiple thoughts on books. When I first started to get books, I would collect books for the next study and I would not want my daughter to see them because I'd want them to be fresh and exciting for her to see when we started the study. Yeah. But I actually found that it was more impactful to let her look at those books on the way home from the library. And then she's like looking at all the pictures. Now she's very enticed to want to read them. Yeah. And then when we started, she was actually more into it. So, I think, getting them involved and getting them excited about it. If you've gone on a fun break, if this disruption in your life is because of something fun, or even if you've moved and if you've moved like states, so it's been a big move for you, maybe you're a military family and you're at, at a new station, then maybe you make a little unit study. Maybe you just like ad hoc. You just, don't put a lot of work into it, but go to the library, grab a few books that are about, wherever you went or wherever you've just landed. If you're in a new state or new country,
find a couple places to visit.
Find something to visit, do some art, maybe like help get your homeschool back into it by adding in this cool unit study that has something to do with, with this disruption. If it was a good disruption,
leaning into independent learning.
That's a great one. The workbooks that you got, that's fantastic. So, right, if we as adults are not in the mental headspace to get back to our full normal educator role, it's okay to lean into some videos if you need it or some workbooks.
Khan Academy, some app-driven educational program. Obviously, the workbooks as well. I mean, even if you're not really a workbook family, having those workbooks in maybe your morning basket or something of that nature, being able to lean on those 1 or 2 days that might be off, you might be off cycle a little bit. I think is really helpful as well. Yeah, the independent learning stuff has been, I've been trying to cultivate more of that because I'm starting to get into that point where I've got the two that I've got to educate, and sometimes you really need to focus with them on Right Start Math or my All About Reading with my older one. With my younger one, it's like, well, I want to sit down and read you a book and do some math work with you. But the older one will always interject and solve the math problems ahead of time or whatever. So sometimes I need to split them up, and have that time cultivating some independent, learning that is in line with your curriculum or adjacent to your curriculum to help accent things that they're learning. Is that subtle homeschooling, efforts that you need to put into place in order to create the space to have that to do the education. And I really like the independent learning as part of that, but also as a fallback mechanism in case something's not going well, I can have this independent learning ready to go whenever I need. So it kind of solve two problems with
it's really nice to have that to lean on.
Yep.
Absolutely. I think the most important thing that we want to leave you with is that this may take time.
Yeah.
This could take a lot of time, depending on what kind of disruption it was and how your life may have changed as a course of it.
Progress is progress. Like if you're making progress, even though it's a little bit slower, like sometimes, when I'm doing Right Start Math or something of that nature, where it's like, oh, we're crushing 2 lessons a day. It's easy. And then all of a sudden I don't do a couple lessons because something happened, or today just didn't work out and we just didn't do this today, or let's just do the Math Mammoth review today because I feel that's enough. We've done enough lessons for the week. Understanding that it's okay to have a couple weeks where you might be a little bit slower, even though you're still making progress. We're still doing lessons, and I'm still doing reading work, and you're improving. And my gosh, we just played a card game where our daughter was reading the cards, and so it's like, there are ways to still have progress and have good experiences, even though you may not be moving at the same clip that you would like. And to know in the back of my head, they're like, oh, I've got a weekend day, or I can call up grandma and I can catch up on a couple lessons here and there.
There's always ways to put in little extra time to catch up. But just know that getting that full, quote unquote normal, whatever that is for your family, that may take time. Yeah. I know for us, with all the things that we've got going on in the next few weeks, with my back and forth trips and stuff, trying to settle the estate, I know things are not going to go back to normal. We're going to try our best, and we're going to give everybody a lot of space to just, try to do our best to be.
And while you're gone, I've got
on routine.
I've got to take the kids. I'm gonna do as much as I can with me and my parents, and there's a basketball game, and we're going to make it as fun as possible, right? So that maybe we can keep it going. But I'm going to lose potentially a Friday and maybe a Monday of homeschool,
right? And I know the kids are worried about me traveling, and so that's weighing on them. Even though I don't travel very often without the family, or haven't since pre-pandemic. Yeah. So I know that that's just scary for them, and so there's a lot of that. Just know that whatever method you choose, and you may be doing it successfully, it's going the right way, like you're saying, you're making forward progress, but it may take weeks. Yeah. And that's okay. Just give yourself the grace that it may take some time. So we hope that these are helpful ideas, as it's very much on our mind right now about how we're going to get back into our groove. So we hope that this helps you if you're finding difficulty getting back into the swing. And
the thing is, you're not failing. You're not failing. Remember,
absolutely
I walked in, I was like, man, I felt like I had a failure day today.
And I was like, just shush.
Yeah,
that's not even
It was
true.
A successful day because I was able to successfully avert what would have been a very negative experience.
That's what I told you. Is exactly what I told you. I was like, we are winning. You are winning.
I won by avoiding.
Yeah. Well, you noticed a situation that was not going well, that wasn't going to end right. Instead of having her take this test and then you grading it, or scoring it or whatever, and her feeling stupid, right? Instead, you were able to say, we're going to put this aside today. We'll do some review on time and let's do something else. Yeah. Right. And that's the beauty. And I was so thankful that, I'm thankful every day that we homeschool, but there are times particularly where I'm like, wow, I'm really glad you're able to see our daughter's, mental space and be like, that's not what we need to do today.
Yeah. Yep. So let's end it the way we've been ending it lately. It's talking about books we've been reading. We talked about this book series way back, a long time ago, The Kingdom of Renly. But lately, our little one has been demanding kind of middle grade chapter books. And
I don't know. Well, these aren't middle grade. These are
what are these? These
are early elementary chapter books. But she's seeing her sister read, us reading chapter books.
Harry
to her.
Potter, the fourth book to her.
Yeah, I was reading Goblet of Fire.
She did not want the little girl books anymore. She wanted a big girl book off of her sister's shelf.
Right.
And so we grabbed the Renly series, and
Jordan Quinn is the author, and they're illustrated by Robert McPhillips, and he's brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant illustrations and everything. And so I'm able to, because she still takes naps, I'm chewing through like 4 chapters a day, and the books are all like 9 chapters long, 10 chapters. So in like really 2.5 days, I can get through one. And I was shocked when I finished the book. I thought, okay, maybe this is done. She goes, no, Daddy, let's go get the second book. let's get the third book.
We have the entire series.
We have the whole series, so I'm just gonna ride this one as far as it goes.
Kingdom of Renly is a great series, and our older daughter loved it and still continues to love it. If we picked up Kingdom of Renly right now, and in fact, that's kind of a fun thing. You could actually read that with both children, and they would both enjoy it because there's a picture on every page, and it's not like a simple line drawing. It's a beautiful black and white illustration.
Great art, and really, really engaging. And she's understanding the story for the most part. Maybe some of the little minor details she's missing, or some of the dialogue she doesn't completely understand. So I'm having to, as we read a page or two, talk about what just happened and reinforce it. And
yeah, I mean, she's 3.5 though. Yeah. Amazing. So the story, if you haven't heard of the Kingdom of Renly, it's a medieval type fantasy story about a little boy and little girl that are friends, and he has a pet dragon, and they go exploring around the kingdom, solving problems and stuff.
It's super simple, super light, and it is on the fantasy side. So if you are a fantasy kind of focused family, you enjoy fantasy books, this would be a great series for it. So it's the Kingdom of Renly series.
Thanks so much for joining us today and making us a part of your homeschool journey. Please engage with us on social media. Join our Homeschool Together podcast group on Facebook, and find us at Homeschool Together Podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear your feedback, questions, and recommendations. Until next time,
happy homeschooling!